Heartwarming moment as little girl aids CEO with papers, then she discovers an incredible secret. On a sun-drenched afternoon, laughter echoed through Maple Park, where children swirled around like petals lifted by the wind. Among them was Sophie, a vivacious 10-year-old with curls that danced in the sunlight and an imagination as vast as the sky. She was caught up in a world of make-believe, transforming each flower into a magical creature. When her attention was drawn to the far end of the park, there, under the sprawling branches of an ancient oak, sat Mr. Thompson, the town's renowned but reclusive CEO, buried in a mass of papers. His brow furrowed, and the glimmer of desperation flickered in his eyes, sparking a fire of curiosity within Sophie. Setting her toys aside, Sophie made her way over, the lush grass tickling her toes. "Excuse me, Mr. Thompson," she called out, her voice bright and hopeful. "Do you need help?" He looked up, surprised by the boldness of this tiny girl, and for a fleeting moment, the lines of worry on his face softened. Yes. "That would be great," he replied, his voice thick like molasses but warm as a summer sunset. As they settled under the oak's protective shade, Sophia's small hands started sorting through the chaotic stack of papers, her fingers brushing against crisp edges and the scent of ink. "You must be really busy," she chirped, her eyes sparkling with an encouraging light. As they worked, Mr. Thompson began to share snippets of his journey, the struggles, the late nights, and the endless hustle that paved his path to success. Sophie's eyes widened in awe, each story painting an image of resilience. It made her chest swell with admiration. "You mean, if we work hard, we can achieve our dreams?" she asked earnestly. "Absolutely," he said, a trace of a smile forming, but it quickly faded as shadows seemed to dance around him. Sophie noticed his furtive glances at the bustling park, betraying a hidden remorse that tugged at her heart. Then, as their friendship deepened, she stumbled upon his secret. Hidden away in his office was a scholarship fund he created for children from low-income families. "I wish I had this when I was younger," he confided one afternoon, his voice barely above a whisper. Sophie's heart leaped. She knew her friends needed that kind of hope. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But truth has a way of surfacing. When a local newspaper threatened to expose Mr. Thompson's reclusive nature, whispers of doubt spread through town like wildfire. Sophie felt an unsettling tightness in her chest. The weight of her mother's struggling flower shop loomed large, and she bore witness to how swiftly rumors could snuff out even the brightest lights. "We have to stand up for him," she declared, her small hands clenched into determined fists. And so, with the weight of the town's skepticism heavy in the air, Sophie hatched an idea. She envisioned a community rally to support both her mother's shop and Mr. Thompson's noble mission. But could such a gathering mend the fractures? Would the townspeople find hope in this collaboration? Or would the secrets of the past thunder down like a looming storm cloud? Sophie's heart raced a whirlwind of determination, fear, and the fiery belief that kindness could conquer all. The future hung in the balance, with destiny quivering just beyond their horizon. With the sun setting behind the town's silhouette, Sophie sat on the porch of her mother's flower shop, tapping her feet nervously against the wooden floor. Her mind buzzed with thoughts of the community rally she envisioned. It had to be perfect. It had to work. She could almost feel the energy of the townspeople. Their whispers of doubt mingled with her dreams of hope, and it made her stomach churn like a stormy sea. "What if they don't show up?" she whispered to herself, biting her lip. The aroma of fresh blooms filled the air, but it couldn't mask the uncertainty that settled in her heart. "Sophie, honey, come help me with these arrangements," her mother called out, breaking her from the spiral of worry. Mrs. Wilson's flower shop was adorned with colors of summer. Vibrant yellows and calming blues danced together in the cool breeze. Sophie joined her mother, her small hands helping to arrange bouquets. Each flower seemed to hold a prayer for support, unity, and a brighter tomorrow. As dusk enveloped the sky, a familiar figure approached the shop. Mr. Thompson, his anxious demeanor softened by the warmth of friendship, held a stack of flyers in his hand. "Sophie, I've made some flyers for the rally. They're ready to go." Her heart soared as she took the papers, the ink still fresh. "This is perfect, Mr. Thompson, but do you really think they'll come?" She met his gaze, a flicker of hope mingling with doubt in her wide eyes. "We can only do our best and believe in our message," he replied, his voice steady yet reflective. "This is about more than us. It's about showing the town there is always a way to rise together." That night, as Sophie lay in bed, she imagined what the rally could bring. She envisioned families smiling, sharing stories, and coming together in ways they hadn't seen in years. But with each heartbeat, she recalled the whispers she overheard while helping Mr. Thompson. Rumors that twisted truth into tales that stung like thorns. Fear crept back in what if the past was stronger than their hope? The next day dawned bright but tense, as if the world was holding its breath. Sophie and her mother hung the flyers around town, catching glances from townsfolk who seemed caught between curiosity and skepticism. With each passing hour, her excitement dwindled, replaced by tethered anxiety. "Mom, what if no one comes?" She stomped her foot against the ground, frustration bubbling. Her mother paused, placing a comforting hand on Sophie's shoulder. "Sweetheart, it's not just about the number of people who show up. It's the message we're sending. You're brave for wanting to help, and that's what matters most." Sophie's heart squeezed at her mother's words, a blend of comfort and resolve washing over her like spring rain. But moments later, the familiar voice of Jed, a local troublemaker, echoed through the street. "You really think people are going to come support a CEO who is hiding behind walls? What a joke." The laughter of a few children nearby came to a halt. Sophie's breath caught in her throat. They could easily come to believe him, and all her efforts could be for nothing. "Hey!" she shouted, surprising herself with the volume of her voice. Everyone turned. "What if we showed him that kindness matters more than what the papers say? If you believe in something, you have to stand up for it. Let us change the story." The silence hung heavy for a moment, and she felt the weight of every eye on her. Then, in a small voice from the crowd, someone spoke up. "I think Sophie's right. Could her plea shatter the walls of doubt?" The tension shifted, and a vibrant seed of hope started to sprout. But would it be enough to unite a divided town when the rally arrived? Sophie could only wait and see. As the sun dipped below the horizon that night, she whispered a silent prayer for courage. The clock ticked down to the rally, and anxiety tightened in her chest because tomorrow would reveal if they truly could thrive together, or if fear would win out again. Would the town find the strength to embrace a shared future? The day dawned, crisp and bright, yet anxiety weighed heavily in Sophie's chest. She stood before the mirror in her small bedroom, brushing her hair, but the reflection showed more than her worried eyes. It captured the anticipation thrumming within her. Today was the day. Today, the town faced its fears together. "Let us do this," Sophie whispered, taking a deep breath as she slipped on her navy blue dress, a color her mother loved. It felt both comforting and empowering as she glanced out the window. The sky was a brilliant blue, just like her hopes, but the biting wind carried with it an unspoken tension. At the shop, her mother moved with purpose, arranging flowers into a makeshift stage at the edge of the shop's lawn. The scent of daisies filled the air, a delicate reminder that beauty and resilience often blossom even in hard ground. Sophie joined her, hands shaking slightly as she tied ribbons and arranged petals. Mr. Thompson arrived early, his appearance promising the kind of support Sophie needed. "Ready for this?" he asked, a hint of enthusiasm in his voice that eased her nerves, if only slightly. "I hope so," she replied, glancing down the street, half expecting to see a stream of familiar faces. As the clock ticked closer to the rally's start, Sophie fidgeted. "What if it's just us?" she mused. "What if nobody cares enough to come? Then we'll still stand for what we believe in, Mr. Thompson replied gently. It's about the courage to speak up no matter the audience size. Everyone matters. Sophie nodded, but deep down, the doubt gnawed at her. What if Jed was right? What if the community had lost faith, and her efforts would crumble before her eyes? As the hours unfolded, Sophie watched people trickle in. At first, it was a few friends and families, and her heart soared for each smiling face. Laughter mingled with the flowers, yet the crowd still felt small. Doubt replaced excitement, whispering in her ears. Just then, she caught sight of movement at the edge of the gathering. It was a group of teenagers from school. "Hey, Sophie," they called, waving enthusiastically. "We're here to support you." Their laughter echoed around, filling her with warmth. A rush of adrenaline flooded through her as more people gathered. But just as hope began to swell, Jed appeared again, striding through the crowd with a smirk. "This is all a waste, I senti it? You really think this is gonna change anything?" Sophie took a step forward, then another, heart racing. "We can change it, Jed. Together." Her voice rang louder than she felt. The crowd turned towards her, curious eyes lingering. "If you believe in a brighter future, you have to show up. That's what makes us strong." For a heartbeat, silence claimed the air. Was it working? Her pulse raced as murmurs rippled through the audience. Then, a tall figure stepped from the gathered crowd. "Mr. Collins, the town's mayor." "I'm here to listen, Sophie," he said, his voice firm, yet warm. "Tell us what we can do." The energy shifted palpably, a collective realization washing over everyone. It was as if they suddenly understood this was their moment to unite, to reclaim their narrative. Sophie's heart lifted as she saw an eager embrace of possibility in their eyes. And just as Sophie began to sense openness happening, a rush of footsteps approached, a young girl breathless and wide-eyed. "Sophie, you won't believe what I just heard." The girl's urgency sparked curiosity in everyone. "What?" Sophie asked, pulse quickening. "There's something going on with the plans for the old mill," the girl exclaimed, her voice high with excitement. "You need to hear this." Sophie's heart raced anew, a new challenge emerging on the horizon. What secret lay within that story, and how could it change their rally, their community? As she turned to the gathering, she sensed their focus on her. This was more than they had bargained for. What awaited them would redefine everything. Was this the beginning of a transformation beyond the rally? The air hung heavy with anticipation. Sophie's heart realized the weight of the young girl's words. The old mill? It had stood there abandoned for as long as she could remember, cast aside, a relic of a time when the town thrived. The murmurs among the crowd turned electric, little sparks of curiosity igniting among familiar faces. "What do you mean?" Sophie urged, leaning closer to the girl. "What did you hear?" The girl, Nia, took a breath, her excitement bubbling over. "I was at my grandma's house when I overheard Mr. Hawkins talking about it. He wants to turn the mill into a shopping center or something. But I think he's been hiding stuff about the land. They're cutting down trees." And instantly, a wave of disbelief washed over Sophie. Cutting down trees? But those woods are home to so much wildlife. That can't be right. Mr. Collins, sensing the shift in tone, stepped forward. "Nia, could you tell us exactly what you overheard?" The girl nodded, her eyes wide with the thrill of being the center of attention. "They're planning to start work before winter. If it's true, it will ruin everything. My grandma always says the mill has history. It's part of our town." Sophie swallowed hard as the pieces came together. The old mill was a symbol of their past, a reminder of everything they cherished. Dudley Woods surrounding it had provided the town not just with resources, but memories too. Celebrations, picnics, children playing tag among the trees. "What if we could save it?" she said, more to herself than to the crowd. She looked back at the townsfolk, a swell of determination growing within her. "What if we fight to preserve it? We can't let someone come in and take away our history without a fight." Quiet murmurs filled the air again, this time fueled by hope. Faces lit up with ideas, and slowly hands began to rise. Sophie's heart thrummed in her chest as one by one, people spoke up, each offering to help. Mr. Collins looked pleased. I think we should form a committee to investigate this. Gather evidence. It feels like you've sparked something important here. Sophie? The crowd erupted in chatter as Sophie beamed. This was the energy she was hoping for. But as she smiled at Nia, a shadow slipped across her heart. She thought of Jed and his laughter. His words still echoed in her mind, shrouding her belief in this idea. Would they take it seriously? But then she remembered the warmth of her friend's laughter. If we come together, if we make our voices heard, maybe we can do this. With renewed energy, she organized everyone into small groups. Nia took charge of gathering stories from older residents, people who remembered the mill's significance. Others brainstormed ways to spread the word, while some began sketching plans for a community event to rally support. But just as hope surged upward, Sophie sensed a presence at the edge of the crowd. Jed's figure loomed there, arms crossed, the same arrogant smirk plastered on his face. You really think you can stop Mr. Hawkins? Good luck with that, he taunted, and a hush fell over their buzzing organization. Sophie took a deep breath. We might just surprise you, she declared, channeling the strength of her friends and neighbors. As Jed turned away, the crowd's resolve solidified. They were no longer just fighting for the rally's purpose. They were fighting for something bigger, something that reached deep into their hearts. Sophie turned to her group, noticing the faces of her friends, each one echoing her own determination. But as they prepared to take the next steps, Sophie couldn't shake a feeling that there was more to discover, something hidden beneath the surface of this drama unfolding around the old mill. What secrets lurked within its walls, and how far would they go to uncover them? They were only beginning to scratch the surface of this battle. What truths awaited them on the other side? As the adrenaline of the rally buzzed around her, Sophie's mind raced, her thoughts tumbling over one another like autumn leaves in the wind. What lay inside the old mill? Did it hold secrets that could help their fight? Or would it simply be another reminder of what they were about to lose? Nia, she called, spotting the girl at the edge of the gathering. Can you ask your grandma if she has any old pictures of the mill? We need to show people what it used to be. Nia's eyes gleamed. I can do that. She has lots of stories too. The girl darted off, her ponytail swinging as she weaved through the crowd. Sophie smiled, but the reality of Jed's taunts echoed in her mind. Could they really make a difference? Sophie squared her shoulders, determined to believe it was possible. Hey, Sophie! A voice snapped her from her thoughts. It was Mal, her ever-encouraging friend. I've been thinking about how we can get the word out. Social media could help us find more people. Do you think? Yes. Great idea. Sophie replied, her heart lifting a bit more. If they could harness the enthusiasm of the town, they might just stand a chance. The energy shot through the crowd like electricity. Groups formed and plans developed at a feverish pace. Papers flew, sketches emerged, and whispers of rally themes danced between them. But amidst all the action, Sophie felt the weight of the old mill press down on her. Guys, she called, capturing their attention. Let us meet again tomorrow night at the diner to finalize everything. We need to stay focused. That evening, Sophie took a walk to clear her head. The cool air brushed against her skin, and the sky turned shades of orange and purple. It was beautiful, yet tinged with tension. What if Hawkins really did take the mill from them? What would that mean for Dudley Woods? As she neared the mill, a sudden movement caught her eye. Shadows flickered behind the cracked windows. Heart racing, she crept closer, curiosity igniting her senses. Squinting into the dark, she could see shapes shifting, but they were too indistinct. A deep breath steeled her resolve. Hello? She called out, her voice slightly trembling. No response. Willing herself to be brave, she stepped closer. The creaking wooden door groaned as she pushed it open. Inside, the familiar scent of damp wood and rust met her. The stillness felt alive, almost watchful. Suddenly, a low hum echoed from deeper within the mill. It was a sound she had never heard before, a soft rhythm that tugged at something inside her. Is anyone there? She called out again, her voice barely a whisper. The hum grew louder, resonating against the cold walls. Sophie's heart raced as she ventured further. There, In the corner, she saw a faint glimmer of light. As she drew closer, her breath caught as she realized it was an old projector, its film whirring to life, images flickering across the grimy wall. The flickering images told stories of the mill, pictures of laughter, dancing, and community. Each frame held a memory, and it felt as if the very walls of the mill were alive, sharing secrets of its storied past. But above the laughter, one frame caught her breath, a map, featuring not just the mill, but tracts of land beyond. Something about it stirred a deep sense of urgency, like an alarm going off in her chest. Sophie's pulse quickened. This could change everything, she murmured, eyes wide as understanding dawned upon her. If Hawkins was up to something, they needed to find out what, and fast. But as she turned to leave, footsteps echoed behind her. Her heart dropped. Who else was in the mill? Would she be ready for whatever secrets lay ahead? The footsteps grew louder, echoing off the brick walls of the old mill. Sophie whipped around, her heart racing. She strained to see who had entered, but the shadows played tricks, bending the light, obscuring the figure's face. "Who's there?" she demanded, trying to keep her voice steady. A silence hung in the air, thick like fog. Just as doubt began to creep in, the figure stepped into the dim light. It was Lila, a quiet girl from school whom Sophie barely knew. She looked as startled as Sophie felt, eyes wide and breathless. "Oh, Sophie, I didn't expect to find you here," she exclaimed, her voice tinged with surprise. "Me neither. I thought I heard something." Sophie took a step back, trying to quell the anxiety bubbling in her chest. What was Lila doing here? Lila glanced at the projector, then back to Sophie. "I saw you walking out here earlier, and I don't know. I felt drawn to come." Her voice quivered slightly, sensing the weight of the moment. Sophie studied her, the young girl's expression filled with a mixture of determination and fear. "You feel it too then? This place, it's not just a mill anymore. It holds something important." Lila nodded. "My grandma used to tell me stories about the mill's glory days. It used to be the heart of the town. But now it's just forgotten." The gravity of their situation surrounded them like dense fog. Did they really have the power to bring back what had been lost? The flickering images on the wall felt like answers, alive with hope. Yet, the threat of Hawkins loomed closer every day, lurking like a dark cloud. "What did you find?" Lila's voice broke Sophia's thoughts as she stepped closer to the screen. The images continued their mesmerizing dance, illuminating their faces in a warm glow. "Is that?" She leaned in, eyes squinting at the detailed map. "A layout of the old town?" "Yes. And look," Sophie pointed, excitement igniting her voice. "There are marked paths leading to other tracts of land. Maybe even some areas that Hawkins has his eye on." Lila's breath caught. "If we can prove the mill's historical significance, we might convince the town to save it. This might be our chance." But as they processed the implications, a sudden crash outside made them jump. An unsteady whisper infiltrated their conversation, the rhythmic sound they'd heard before transformed into a frightening reality. They weren't alone. "Did you hear that?" Sophie's voice barely rose above a whisper. Lila nodded, the color draining from her face. We should go." "No, wait." Sophie grabbed her hand. "This could be our opportunity to uncover what Hawkins is really planning. If we leave now, we'll never learn the truth." Lila hesitated, fear warring with determination in her eyes. "But what if it's dangerous?" Sophie took a breath, allowing the flickering images to bolster her courage. "Then we face it together. We're stronger as a team." Just then, the door creaked on its hinges, revealed by the dim light. Someone stepped into view, silhouetted against the fading light of dusk. The figure paused, then took a slow step forward. "Found you," a familiar voice sneered. It was Jed. Sophie's stomach dropped. He had come to silence them. What will happen now? She thought, a new resolve igniting within her. If they were going to save the mill, they had to outsmart him. But could they escape without revealing their discovery? The moment of truth hung just out of reach, and Sophie could feel every heartbeat thumping in her chest. What plan could possibly save them now? Sophie's mind raced, 1,000 thoughts colliding at once. Jed stood there, a smug look on his face, blocking the only exit. The shadows seemed to curl around him, a dark omen of his intentions. Did you really think you could just play around in here and not get caught? He taunted, stepping further inside. Lila squeezed Sophie's hand, her grip tightening with anxiety. What do we do? She whispered, panic rising in her voice. Stick together, Sophie whispered back, her eyes darting around the room for anything they could use. She noticed an old wooden box against the wall. If they could just create a distraction, maybe they could slip past Jed. Nothing important going on here, right? Jed's voice dripped with sarcasm, echoing against the walls. Maybe a couple of ghosts ready to haunt you for trying to dig into things best left buried. Leave us alone, Jed, Sophie said, her voice steadier than she felt. You don't know anything about this place. Her bravado surprised her, and she felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. Aren't you sweet? But you really have no idea what you're meddling with. He stepped closer, and Sophie could see the malicious gleam in his eyes. Determined, Sophie took a breath and thrust her finger toward the projector. Look, remember that map? There's something here that Hawkins doesn't want us to find. Jed's eyes narrowed, momentarily distracted. What do you mean? Show me. With no time to think, Sophie gestured for Lila to follow her lead. I mean, this mill is rich with history. If we can uncover what it was before Hawkins decided to rip it apart, we might just save it. She blurted out, hoping to pique his interest. Lila threw a nervous glance toward the projector. Yeah, and it could help us rally other people too, show them how valuable this place is. But instead of intrigued, Jed's expression darkened, his confidence flickering like the failing light. You really think anyone cares about this ruin? It's just a hunk of bricks and a few old stories. No, Sophie shot back. It's way more than that. It's part of our town, part of who we are. Just as she spoke, another crash reverberated through the mill. The projector flickered ominously, throwing erratic shadows across the walls. In that moment of chaos, Sophie seized her chance. She pulled Lila toward the wooden box. Now, she yelled. Together, they dragged the heavy box, sending it crashing to the floor, creating enough of a moment of confusion for them to make a break for it. Jed swore, stumbling over the box as the projector's final images flickered out, leaving them in near darkness. Get back here, he shouted, but Sophie and Lila were already moving toward the door, adrenaline driving them forward. They sprinted into the night air, hearts pounding. What was that? Lila gasped as they rounded the corner away from the mill. I don't know, but I think we just opened a door we're not ready to close, Sophie replied, her breath coming in heavy gasps. Just then, she noticed something in Lila's hand, the corner of a yellowed paper, half crumpled but unmistakably part of the map they had seen. Where did you get that? Sophie asked, excitement and fear colliding. I found it in the box, Lila replied, her eyes wide. It looks like a journal page. It talks about a hidden room in the mill. What? Sophie's heart raced again, but this time from something other than fear. We need to find out what's in that room. If Hawkins is up to something, we have to stop him before it's too late. As they exchanged a nervous glance, another question lingered heavy in the air. What other secrets lay buried in the old mill? Sophie and Lila wobbled on shaky legs, breaths mingling with disbelief and adrenaline. The crisp night air wrapped around them, calming yet charged with urgency. The faint sound of crickets filled the silence, but their hearts thudded louder, an echo of fear and excitement. I can't believe we almost got caught, Lila breathed, glancing back toward the mill as if it could spring to life and chase them down. What if he comes after us? Sophie pinched the corner of the journal page, absorbing its texture, the weight of its promise. He might try, but we have something he doesn't. What's that? Lila asked, squinting under the moonlight. The truth, Sophie said firmly, her voice gaining strength. This map could change everything. They found a secluded spot behind a tall tree, heartbeats slowly sinking with the rustle of leaves overhead. Pulling the faded paper closer, Sophie gazed at the delicate writing. It says here that the hidden room holds something important, something Hawkins got rid of. Lila leaned over, eyes darting across the lines. It mentions a safe? Maybe it holds the records from when they were planning to demolish the mill. That would explain everything, Sophie exclaimed, her mind racing. Hawkins wouldn't want anyone to know how valuable this place really is. But how do we even find this hidden room? Lila questioned, the worry creeping back into her voice. Sophie looked closer at the map. It wasn't just a diagram. It was a puzzle. Symbols and arrows seemed to indicate hidden pathways within the mill itself. She could almost feel the thrill of solving it, the pieces coming together like they were meant to. We follow this if we can get back inside before anyone notices we're gone. Lila's face lit up, and if we find it we can stop the demolition. We can show everyone how much this place means. Sophie, we've got to do this. Together, Sophie affirmed, placing her hand on Lila's. As they began tracing the route on the map, a sudden rustling nearby raised the hair on Sophie's neck. What was that? She whispered. Lila's eyes grew wide. Maybe it's Jed or worse. We need to keep moving. We can't stay here, Sophie urged, tucking the paper firmly into her jacket. The girls swiftly navigated through the shadows, aware of their surroundings, senses heightened. Every creak and whisper seemed amplified in the stillness of the night. They reached the edge of the forest, the mill looming ahead, its darkened windows like unblinking eyes. Okay, let us take a breath, Sophie murmured. We'll go in quietly. If we stick to the plan, we can find the room and get out before anyone knows we're there. Are you ready? Lila asked, her voice barely rising above a whisper. Sophie analyzed the intricacies of the map one last time, the thrill coursing through her. No time like the present, she said, a mixture of fear and excitement propelling her feet forward. As they approached the old gates of the mill, a gnawing question pulsed in Sophie's mind. What if they did find the room? What lay from behind the door? Would it be answers or more questions? They took each tentative step, the shadows shifting with each creak beneath their shoes. And as they crossed the threshold, the memories of whispers, the past secrets, and the promise of truth loomed ahead, decisive in the darkness. What would they uncover inside? The uneasy feeling draped over them like a thick fog, heavy with anticipation. The risk seemed monumental, but they were bound by a shared resolve. In that moment, the stakes felt higher than ever. Would they be ready to face whatever waited within those walls? The silence swallowed them as Sophie and Lila stepped deeper into the mill. Their footsteps echoed like distant whispers against the cold, stone walls. Spoiling the stillness was the occasional drip of water somewhere in the shadows, a reminder that even the most secretive places held memories of their own. This way, Sophie urged, her eyes scanning the faded map as they moved. The dim light from the moon, filtering through the broken windows, glinted off dust particles swirling in the air. She could almost see the ghosts of the mill's past dancing around them, beckoning her into their stories. Lila pressed close, her heart racing. It's so dark, what if we trip? Just stay close. We can't lose each other now, Sophie said, her confidence masking her own unease. We're on the brink of something amazing, Lila. I can feel it. They crept through a narrow passage, the air thickening around them. The smell of damp wood and rust lingered, almost suffocating. Moments stretched between them as they navigated the twisting corridors, every new shadow a potential threat. Sophie paused at a worn wooden door, its surface marred by time. The map indicated they were close. This looks like it, she whispered, her heart pounding in tandem with her hopes. This could be the hidden room. Taking a deep breath, she turned the rusted handle, wincing at the creak. The door resisted, as if reluctant to reveal its secrets. But with a determined push, it swung open. Inside, dust lay thick over everything. The room was cluttered with old machinery parts and forgotten tools. But her eyes were drawn to a corner where a serious-looking safe loomed large, its iron surface scarred and battered. Is that it? Lila asked, her voice a mixture of awe and disbelief. Sophie approached it carefully, as if stepping onto fragile ground. It has to be. She traced the edges of the safe, her heart racing at the thought of what it might hold. Can you open it? Lila urged, inching closer. Let us see, I think it requires a combination. Sophie knelt, searching for clues around the safe, every movement heightened by the weight of expectation. What if there's nothing in there? Lila questioned, fingers tapping nervously against her thigh. The question hung like a heavy fog, but Sophie shook her head. It might be the key to saving the whole place. We can't back down now. She rifled through some old papers nearby, hoping to find any hints. As she scanned the documents, her eyes widened at a faded letter bearing Hawkins' name. Lila, look at this. Lila hurried over, peering at the letter. What does it say? It's about a new development plan? Hawkins was cutting corners. This is proof that he wanted to demolish the mill for his own profits. Sophie exclaimed, the excitement bubbling in her voice. But we need to get that safe opened. Lila insisted, glancing at the door as if expecting someone to burst in at any moment. Sophie looked back at the safe, biting her lip. The combination, maybe it's in the map? Somewhere here? She flipped through the journal, adrenaline surging as she deciphered the symbols. As they studied the map together, the world outside felt increasingly distant, and the truth and the stakes loomed larger than ever. Their hearts raced with the thrill of discovery, but also the fear of failure. But just then, the sound of footsteps echoed in the distance, jarring them. Sophie's stomach dropped. Someone's coming, Lila whispered urgently. Fear rushed over Sophie. We need to hide. They quickly scrambled behind a pile of old crates, holding their breath as the footsteps grew closer. With each heartbeat, the space around them seemed to shrink, the air thick with fear, anticipation, and the weight of what they might lose. Would they discover the secrets in the safe, or would they be caught before they had the chance to? The moment hung in the air, fragile yet electric, and their fate felt intrinsically tied to the resolution about to unfold. What would they choose, risk everything to uncover the truth, or retreat into the shadows and let history repeat itself? Sophie and Lila crouched behind the stacked crates, adrenaline coursing through their veins like wildfire. The footsteps drew nearer, echoing ominously in the dimly lit room. Every sound seemed magnified, the soft rustle of fabric, the creak of the floorboards. Who could it be? Lila whispered, her voice trembling slightly. Let us hope it's not Jed, Sophie replied, her heart racing. She peered through the narrow gap between the crates just as the door swung open. To their surprise, it was Mr. Thompson. Girls, I thought I might find you here, he said, relief flooding his voice. When I didn't see you at the rally, I got worried. I realized we needed to act fast. Mr. Thompson, Sophie gasped, her heart doing a flip. But joy quickly turned to panic. You have to hide. Jed is a sudden commotion echoed from the corridor. The unmistakable sound of Jed calling for help, a voice laced with mocking glee. If anyone's in here, you better come out now. I'm not in the mood for hide and seek. No, he can't be here. Not now, Lila breathed, her eyes widening. Mr. Thompson motioned for them to be quiet. We need to get to that safe, he said, his eyes flaring with determination. Gather whatever you can find that proves Hawkins' plans to destroy the mill. We can save it. The weight of the moment pushed Sophie forward. Mr. Thompson, the map, it shows there's a hidden passage, she exclaimed, pulling the map from her pocket to show him. He took the paper, his eyes scanning the intricate lines. This changes everything. If we can uncover the truth in that safe, we'll have the leverage we need to protect this place. Just then, another loud crash met their ears, and Jed's voice shouted again, this time closer. I know you're in there, Mr. Thompson. Come out while you still can. Quick. We don't have much time, Sophie urged, her voice a tense whisper. Together, they pulled the crates aside and made a quick exit into the shadows. Mr. Thompson led the way, holding the map lit by a dim shaft of moonlight peeking through the cracks. They moved cautiously, hearts racing as they navigated the eerie corridors of the mill. Keep your eyes open for any clues, Mr. Thompson said, confidence shimmering in his eyes despite the circumstances. If Hawkins has been hiding evidence, we have to find it before he does. With each turn, Sophie could feel their chance to make a difference slipping through their fingers. They reached the end of one corridor and stopped in front of an unassuming door, rusted and worn, its lock barely hanging on. "This must be it," Sophie said, breathless. As she fumbled for the handle, footsteps clattered loudly in the distance. "They're coming," Lila whimpered. "Hold on," Mr. Thompson said firmly. He turned to Sophie, eyes steady. "Can you open it?" Sophie's fingers trembled on the door handle as she took a breath. The weight of the moment pressed down on her. They had to reveal the truth. "Yes," she said, and with a sharp twist, the door creaked open. Inside, the room was dim, dusty, but at the back stood the safe. "Help me with the door," Mr. Thompson said, motioning to Lila. Together, they held it open a crack while Sophie squeezed inside, her heart thumping with urgency. As she made her way to the safe, the sound of Jed's voice grew nearer. "This isn't over, Mr. Thompson. I know you're hiding something." Sophie felt her stomach drop. "We don't have time to waste." With quick fingers, she scanned the safe, looking for a way to open it. "Maybe the combination is on the back of the map," Lila suggested, her eyes wide with hope. "No, wait," Mr. Thompson said, shaking his head as he looked closer. The numbers. Sophie gazed at him, confusion mingling with urgency. "What about them?" "They're a pattern we need to follow. It's been coded on the map." Mr. Thompson's face lit up with realization. "The numbers line up with the Old Town's history, the mill's anniversary, the year it was built." As he rattled off numbers, Sophie felt sparks of understanding ignite within her. She quickly copied them into the safe's rusty lock. "Here goes nothing." The safe clicked and groaned open, aching, yet alive with promise. Her heart raced with anticipation. As the door swung wide, the sight nearly took Sophie's breath away. Inside lay stacks of papers, some crumbling with age, while others glimmered with recent signatures. "Look," Lila exclaimed, grabbing a nearby stack. "These are contracts." She scanned them quickly, excitement lighting her eyes. "They show Hawkins bought off the old landowners. This is why he wants to demolish the mill." "But these documents are still legal," Mr. Thompson interjected. "If we present these, we can expose his deceit." Just then, loud footsteps slammed open the door. "What are you doing?" Jed's voice rang through, sinister and giddy like a predator closing in. "You're making a big mistake." Panic surged as Sophie turned to Mr. Thompson and Lila. "We can't let him see. We have to hide the papers. Quick!" "Back to my," Mr. Thompson began. But Jed burst into the room, eyes gleaming with malice. Sophie felt the world tilt as Jed's presence swallowed them. "You think you can win against me? I have the whole town on my side. We have the truth," Lila called out defiantly, eyes ablaze. "Truth?" Jed laughed mockingly. "Who would believe little girls and an old man?" With one swift action, Mr. Thompson lunged toward Jed, reaching for the papers in a fervent attempt to protect their findings. But Sophie felt something intense build within her. "Stop! No more hiding!" she shouted, voice steady. "We're not afraid of you, Jed. And when the town hears what you've done, they will believe us." Jed's confident mask slipped for a moment, and for the first time, uncertainty flickered in his eyes. "You think they will care?" he scoffed. "You think anyone changes anything?" But in that instant, Sophie felt the collective strength of everyone who had come to support the rally flow through her raw, relentless spirit. "We are bigger than your lies." A beat of silence hung in the air, thick with the weight of truth and courage. Jed's smirk faltered, and it hit Sophie like thunder, the power of unity, of community pride. "We can show them what really matters," she declared. "And that means letting the truth shine." Just then, a commotion erupted outside. Voices rose with the rallying cries of community members, reaching the very walls of the mill. The townspeople were standing up, emboldened by the very rally they feared might fail. Jed's eyes widened, a glimmer of panic showing through. "They don't care what you think," he spat, anger boiling behind his bravado. But Sophie could see the fear creeping into his voice. "Let us show you what they care about," Mr. Thompson exclaimed, as he moved to gather the papers. In that moment of chaotic energy, they darted forward, Sophie boldly stepping toward the doorway, Mr. Thompson and Lila close behind. Everyone, Sophie shouted at the top of her lungs, her voice carrying that unwavering resolve. We have evidence of what Hawkins is planning. We'll stand up for what's right. As the crowd pressed in, Sophie felt the warmth of support wash over her. The townspeople's energy surged, uniting in the face of adversity. Courage blossomed in the mill like flowers after rain, and as they stood there, a team bound by truth, their hearts soared. They might just change their community, save their mill, and preserve the history they all cherished. A triumphant chorus erupted as they basted the doubt from their hearts. Together, they would face whatever storm lay ahead. And in that moment, Sophie realized no secret could ever dim the light of solidarity and hope. This was their moment, and nothing could stop them now. The mission had just begun. Subscribe immediately to the channel to witness every step of this incredible journey. Leave a like now to fuel our community's strength and amplify our message. Comment below your thoughts on this astounding transformation and what it means to you. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel the power of unity. You need to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second.